Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're gonna talk about 3 beginner tips for photographers that's gonna make your photos so much better than they are right now. So let's just jump straight into it right now. So my first tip is actually to start using manual mode. The manual mode is so great and you have so much more power over your own photos when you're actually out and shoot. So I have 3 things I want to talk about when shooting in the manual mode to get you a little bit of better understanding how it works, because if you have only shot in auto before, it can be very overwhelming. But there is 3 basics that is very easy to remember. So the first one is your white balance. So if it is a very like bluish colors, that's wrong. So then your Kelvin is very wrong. So if you go into your settings and choose your Kelvin, and then you have to choose so the skin tones are actually right. Is it very warm colors outside? Then you might need to have a colder Kelvin, bump it down to like 5000 around there, see how it looks. It's all depending on what lights you're using inside and outside. So this is a setting that is very important to look after. After that, just remember your ISO should not be on auto, especially when you're recording, because then it's gonna up and down the light all the time. So if you have a higher ISO, you will get more light, but it's digital, so it will make your photos grainy and you will see those small grains in the background. So my recommendation is always try to keep it at 100 if possible and change the other settings first. And when I'm saying with the other settings, it's about the aperture, for example. You should have it as low as possible of an f-stop. And for example, my lens goes down to 1.4, which gives a lot of light into the lens. So I can have my ISO on basically 100 almost every time. But then if I choose another lens that only has 4.5, for example, then I will probably have to bump up my ISO or change my other settings first before the ISO. So always think about having your ISO as low as possible and it's gonna be great. Not have those grainy things on your photos. And my next tip is actually don't go out shooting in midday when the sun is as high as possible, because then you will get like raccoon eyes and that's not very pleasing. So everyone that you take photos of will look very tired. And that's not something you want, and they're not gonna post the pictures. So what you want to do is shoot in the early morning, late afternoon, or even in the evening. Also, you can do it in the night if you want to, if you have some flash or cool lights outside anywhere. Just makes your creative mind go crazy. So those times are the best times to go out to shoot photos in general, basically. And also, when it's a bright, cloudy day, that's almost the best day to go out shoot your photos, because it's like having the world's biggest flash in the sky, but it's diffused. So all the shadows will look really great on all your subjects, which make this like the absolute best setup just to go natural without extra light setups. Because if you're in a day when it's a lot of sun and you go straight into the sun because there's good light, and you will see that your subject will have harsh lighting, they will squint their eyes and they will be overexposed. There's gonna be a lot of problems. In those days, I would recommend go to a little bit more shadowy area, have the subject facing the light so they don't look directly into it, but they will still have a little bit of this light from the sun hitting their face, and it's gonna be really nice. And even after editing it, it's gonna be super nice. So my last and third tip is actually to not think about this one like too much, but just so you don't go crazy. And it is about composition, because composition is very important in photography in general. So what you want to think about is maybe make this very easy for you. For example, if you, instead of just taking a normal photo, try to get something in the foreground, maybe some bushes, some trees, maybe stones, get close to the ground or anything, so you get a bit more depth in your photo. So for example, I have a plant in the background here and some other stuff, which makes the video here become a little bit more of a depth. There's things there, you can see that I'm far away from them. The same thing goes for the photos you're taking, and it's gonna look so much better if you have something in the foreground, for example, to make this depth. And also look for the rule of third, for example, have lines and stuff, because the result will take you to a better level than everyone else that you know. So everyone will be like, wow, that's a really nice photo. How did you do that? And then you just have these secrets. So as you could see in the examples, it's really nice to have some extra composition, and when you're not having it, it can be a very plain photo. It's not that fun and exciting. So that's a really good thing. And a bonus tip, actually, use a little bit of movement in your photos. So for example, if you're shooting your friends and stuff, and instead of telling them everything that they have to do with a pose, Just tell them to do some movements, walking around or whatever, and you just take photos of them walking very slowly or doing something else, and it's gonna be a very natural picture that's gonna look great. And if you haven't chosen your camera yet, I would actually like to recommend you beginner cameras up here, and there's a both for video and for photo, so please check it out there. I don't have much more to say today, but I would like to ask you to like and subscribe the video if you watched this far. I hope you have a really good week, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.